Russia escalates its attacks, hitting areas where many Ukrainians had sought sanctuary. President Putin claims all is going to plan as he holds a celebratory concert in Moscow. To Ukraine now, where Russian forces have widened their assault, launching a missile strike on an airport close to the western city Lviv. It's an area previously considered as relatively safe. It came on the day President Putin held a huge patriotic rally in Moscow, marking the 8th anniversary of the seizing of Crimea. He told the crowd that Russia hasn't had such unity for a long time. Meanwhile, in the besieged Ukrainian city of Mariupol, hundreds of civilians are still buried under the rubble of a theatre hit by a Russian airstrike. Geraint Vincent reports.
They've been waiting in Lviv for the war to come to them. And this morning it did. Cruise missiles landed near an airfield at the edge of the city. Black smoke spread across the sky, and on the streets below, the atmosphere had changed. Lviv said its governor has been a humanitarian hub for 200,000 people fleeing the fighting in the east. This attack shows that Russia is not at war with the Ukrainian army, he said, but with civilians. Lviv had been thought of, until this morning at least, as safe haven because of where it is, in the far west of Ukraine, just 40 miles from the border with Poland.
This was an attack on a facility which maintains and repairs Ukrainian aircraft, but it was also another demonstration by the Russian military that there is no safe place in Ukraine and nowhere beyond its reach.
This part of the country has been an entry point for military aid from the West, but the Russian missiles arrived here with a warning from Russia's foreign minister.
Any cargo moving into Ukrainian territory which we would believe is carrying weapons, would be a fair game.
In Moscow, in a football stadium, a show of support for Russia's war. There were Olympic medalists here, but no doubt about the headline act. Vladimir Putin told an apparently adoring crowd that Russia had not known unity like this for a long time. His forces' assault on Ukraine's eastern cities, meanwhile, is as intense as it's ever been. A huge fire broke out in a market in Kharkiv after it was shelled. There were no casualties here, but Russia's generals say the noose is tightening around Mariupol, a city still under siege, where the operation to rescue people who were sheltering in the basement of a theatre when it was bombed continues. An aggressive war always has a high price for the aggressor, says Ukraine's president. But at the moment it's his people bearing much of the human cost. Back in Lviv, they have laid out 109 prams and pushchairs, one for each of the children killed in this war so far. Geraint Vincent, ITV News, Western Ukraine.
Attacks have also continued on the capital, Kyiv. Another residential block has been hit. The city's administration said today that 60 civilians have been killed inside the capital since the start of the invasion, including 4 children. From Kyiv, here's our global security editor, Rohit Kachru.
It is unbelievable for everyone. And yet, this is the norm. They heard the strike, and when they emerged from their homes, here's what they saw. The flats were not spared, nor were schools and nurseries. The places where families lived, where children learned. Many were injured. One person was killed. They'd stepped outside just after the curfew ended.
Какая-то ракета, наверное, я не знаю, что там попало. Ну, как бы меня ударной волной отнесло, стекла посыпались, все. Я не знаю. Я не знаю. Я бы убила Путина сейчас.
In fact, everywhere we went, Putin's name was brought up.
Нет слов, понимаете?
Я бы этого Путина задушил бы вот этими руками.
Понимаете?
The skyline in Kyiv tells two stories. Look one way and you see the past, but on the horizon things look more bleak. Today, a Western official said Russia has enough firepower to carry out an intense bombardment for weeks, with Putin pursuing a strategy of attrition.
What are his tactics? What's his objective for Kyiv?
The Russians had plans to occupy Kyiv already 3 weeks ago. But our army destroyed whole plans of Russians. And Russians, I am, as mayor, told to you to talk to everyone. Never ever Russians to come to our city. Better we die if give the city to Russians.
But some of this country's allies believe Russia's plan is to keep doing this, to wear down Ukraine's army and its people. Rohit Katru, ITV News, Kyiv.
Let's talk now to Rohit, who's still in Kyiv, because in the past 5 days, it feels as though they've made very little progress on the ground compared to the couple of weeks previously. So what do you think the Russian end game is here, Rohit?
Well, that conversation between President Xi of China and President Biden of the United States offers some hope, because Xi, who is Putin's closest ally, although he didn't denounce Russia's actions, he said conflict isn't in anyone's interest. So that leads us to a conversation that we had with a senior Western official this afternoon, who said that although Russia is falling way behind their own expectations, their end game, their intentions haven't changed, which was perhaps more worrying. They added that there is a finite supply of precision weapons available to the Russians, which means that they are now more likely to start using indiscriminate attacks, so-called dumb bombs, which means that things may well slow down, but the number of civilian casualties in the very near future may well increase.
OK, Rohit, thank you.